and welcome to a new series of Recall the Midwife. Today we are watching Series 6, Episode 1. I'm Alex.
I'm Becky.
I'm Jen. A reminder that this week's episode deals with domestic violence, childhood trauma, PTSD, and mental health issues. So if those topics are ones you would prefer to skip this time, we understand and hope you join us for the next one.
In the first episode of Series 6, the group returned from South Africa. Trixie has stayed behind at Hope Clinic on a temporary secondment. The nuns and midwives don't receive the warm welcome that they were expecting under Sister Ursula's stewardship. Sister Julienne receives a call from the Mother House upon her return and is informed that she will now report to Sister Ursula, who has been put in charge of all matters medical and spiritual at Nonnatus House. The midwives get straight back to work at the clinic and we meet Trudy Watts and her young son Mickey. Trudy's husband Lester is being released from prison and she rushes off to meet him. But the warm welcome turns sour when they're behind closed doors and we learn that Trudy is a victim of domestic violence. When Trudy goes into labour early after being thrown to the floor and locked in the bedroom, she and Mickey escape and seek refuge at Nonnatus House, where she gives birth to a baby girl. But the following morning at the maternity hospital, Lester visits the new baby and threatens Trudy. Determined to make a new life for her children, she returns home and changes the locks. Sister Mary Cynthia visits Trudy at home and she's there when Lester tries to force his way into the house. The violence that Sister Mary Cynthia witnesses triggers a breakdown and Dr. Turner is called. Meanwhile, Ternadette find out against all odds that they're expecting a baby. Barbara and Tom share news of their engagement, but with no ring to show off. And Patsy receives an unexpected letter from Hong Kong.
Whoa. I forgot about two storylines that you just said in the recap, and I'm like, oh my gosh, Jennifer, like, how did you forget that? Gee whiz. I literally just watched the episode again last night. Oh my
Can we
goodness.
just really quick talk about Sister Ursula and the fact that she's probably the worst human being that ever walked the earth?
But then at times I feel a bit sorry for her, but she is awful.
I agree, and I really like the actress as well because I've seen her in so many things.
Oh, I
love her. Brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, there's loads of stuff she does that's unnecessarily cruel.
I know.
I don't understand what they're thinking at the Mother House. It's such an insult to Sister Julienne.
Yeah, 1000%.
Maybe they're thinking, oh, you've just had a jolly out now because of the religion thing. Have some penance.
Yeah, like you only get a little bit of fun each, year or whatever, and now it's just so frustrating. Like Sister Julienne manages Nonnatus House amazingly, and she's been doing it for years and years, and then without warning or any kind of issue that's preceded it.
Yeah, but I think
comes home and gets a major demotion.
I think Sister Emmanuel has been fed by Sister Ursula. Well, it's like a holiday camp here. They're living a very non-frugal life. They're living a life that's not very religious. I think she's feeding a lot of stuff to the Mother House. I think that's how it's happened.
Oh yeah.
Then when she gets back,
but it's because Dida and Patsy have been living their best life while everyone was in South Africa.
And Sister Monica Jones dancing in front of the TV eating a packet of crisps.
And telling her she was gyrating as well.
Oh God, I know. Absolutely ridiculous. Well, when the TV got rolled out, I was watching the episode with my mom and she was like, oh, and I was just like, that feels so cruel. And then also to like the part where they're doing the handicrafts in the living room when everyone's sitting around together. And she's like, oh, I find Sister Ursula says this. She's like, oh, I find the TV like such a ruination to polite conversation. And everyone's just like, and she just like, she's like, it really, we all should be able to enjoy our handicrafts in peace and, with the gentle chatter of our human voices or something. And it's just like, oh, everyone was just so irritated with her. You could just tell they were all so over it.
Sister Julienne was so gracious though.
The way she didn't. I've put here, I'd turn the table over. So that frugal luncheon, I can tell you now, I'd eat all that in one sitting. Like it was 4 slices of bread and all that cheap. I'd have that. No
that
worries.
wasn't even a snack for one person.
I know.
Yeah, that lunch spread.
It was so brutal in front of everyone that she had to say it, and she was so dignified. But I'd turn the table over in rage.
Yeah, I literally wrote "hell no" in my notes when she came out and she said that, and I was just the thing that was so heartbreaking was Sister Julienne looked so happy to be back, and then she was like, "Oh, the weekly call from the Mother House and everything," and Sister Ursula was like, "Yeah, why don't you like take that call before we sit down because I think you're gonna find out some stuff." And Sister Julienne's like, I mean, okay, sure," and then she gets the news, like she's smiling when she answers the phone, and then she comes back in and she looks like white as a ghost, like she's just seen whatever, and it's just Oh, it's just so heartbreaking.
But just
So
shows how
just-
strong a character is.
Yeah.
They just travelled back from South Africa. They must have been knackered.
And it
Yeah.
was pissing down. Do you see the road?
Like it's not like travel nowadays. Like that would have been just
Like so long to get
yeah.
there and back. Yeah, like
not
that would have been a
comfortable.
multi-day trip for sure. Like at least 2-day trip, at least, you know?
Well,
And
they
very
weren't
uncomfortable.
flying.
Wait,
Well, no,
wait, how
'cause
did
The
they get
Turners
there?
flew. They went on a boat.
Yeah.
They went on a boat?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because that was how Sheila sold it to Dr. Turner, that they could fly.
Oh my God. You guys. Wow. That's like so antique vibes, like going on a boat, like to get
Well, I presume it was a boat if it wasn't if it wasn't.
I just am like, whenever I think of people traveling on a boat, I think of like ye olden knee times or whatever, you know what I mean? Like at least like Titanic times, you know what I'm saying? Where it's like, oh, we're going to take the steamer across the blah blah blah, and like, you know, oh man, wow, okay, shows what I
But
know.
then they had to go straight to work. They were literally on shift at the clinic that afternoon.
I thought that.
I know.
Or at least give them the afternoon off.
And Barbara just got engaged and she was all excited. And I tell you, that annoyed me actually. The Sister Ursula being like, I hope no ointment was wasted with the ring.
Yeah. That was
Wait,
unnecessary.
Wait,
exactly.
I hope what?
She's just cruel.
Wait a minute, what'd she say about the ring? I hope not what?
So Barbara was explaining that they didn't have a ring. To be honest, if anything, I was really annoyed at everyone's fascination with this ring. But she had, she had the blade of glass, and she's grass, not glass. That'd be really weird. But she had a blade. I can't even speak. She had a blade of grass in a germaline tin.
Yeah.
And Sister Ursula was like, I hope no ointment was wasted. And
like as if you scooped out the ointment to throw it away.
Yeah, and Barbara looked crestfallen. And Nurse Crane did the most amazing use of husbanded. We husbanded our resources very carefully, Sister Ursula.
Oh God, I know. Well, and also just to fast forward, since we're talking about it, like the way Sister Ursula talked to Sister Mary Cynthia about her like formal lifelong vows before she had the issue with the Watts and everything. She just was like, oh well, she's like, we're all praying for you, and like also you really need to take it seriously, like, and Sister Cynthia was like, well, I appreciate that, and like I am, like I feel oftentimes that like, like everyone's wishes and prayers and love for me or whatever is like holding me up like wings. She's like, oh, that's great, but like sometimes you don't feel like that, and she's like, well, I mean, you're kind of twisting my words, but like I don't know, we all have like dark days, and I just was like, it was like she was trying to find a way to cut her down, and then but at the same time saying, oh well, you should just have faith, and it's like, okay, I mean, I get she's a nun, but like she's still a human being, like, these feelings are all complicated, like why can't you just meet her as a human being? And that scene really annoyed me.
The Sister Ursula storyline, and I'm not slagging off the writers of Call the Midwife, I love them, but did you not feel like it was a bit, they decided that was it actually, in season 6 we're going to do this, because everyone seemed to know who Sister Ursula was when they came back from South Africa. But we didn't.
So we hadn't seen that she was taken over, because
there was no mention of it.
Wait, she didn't. So Julienne didn't even say anything about like, oh, Sister Ursula will be here while we're away. Like,
oh, now if you know this answer to this, someone watching, but I'm going to put my neck out and say I don't think it was.
Yeah, I don't remember.
I've watched each one about 20 times.
Yeah. If there's a listener who caught something we didn't, please speak up. But I don't think
she even
said it. Yeah. Well, even
everybody will message and be like, yes.
They all introduced very clearly. Now I may be able to kind of get myself off the hook because maybe that was part of a deleted scene.
You're just going to say, oh, it's a deleted scene.
Oh, do you know what I wish was a deleted scene? What I wish was a deleted scene was Sister Ursula. This is my point about needless cruelty. When Sister Ursula made Sister Julienne lift all the chairs and put all the chairs out.
Oh God, I know.
And I just thought that's just
she's just doing that to be mean.
And it's just cruel.
Yeah, she's just doing it to be mean and to show and to put her in her place and to make
it's humiliating.
Huh?
It's humiliating. That's not charitable of all. That's not godly. That's just humiliation. It's awful.
Yeah, exactly.
And she told her off for a disobedience after with the whole Trudy thing. We'll go on about the Trudy thing. But her telling her off for a disobedience when she was actually just helping someone, that's her calling.
Right.
That, again, what?
Well, also, like, I mean, we've seen it in this show before. Like, all of the nuns from this order are midwife nuns, but not all of them have the same experience or training as each other, right? Because Sister Winifred came and she was a teacher before because there wasn't really a midwife calling, like where she was stationed prior to coming to Nonnatus House, so she kind of had to get her, act together with that. So, like, I don't think Sister Ursula really understands how it works at Poplar. And like, again, like
well,
even
actually, I will say we do find out more about her background.
okay, well, maybe I forgot.
But
I'm sure I forgot.
Is it in this episode? Because if it is, I missed that.
Okay, no. It's in future ones. It's kind of like this weird explanation for all her behavior, which I'm sorry doesn't cut it for me.
Yeah, I feel like I'm not because I feel like when when I've watched these in the past, I was like, okay, well now you're kind of explaining a little bit, but like did you really have to go that hard on everyone? And
exactly.
I'm like, no, you didn't. You did not absolutely have to go that hard. And like, yeah, she's really written and painted as the villain, and like that's how I think she's gonna stay pretty much. So yeah, she sucks.
Well, talking of villains, should we talk about Trudy and Lester?
Oh, listen, seamless transition. Are we getting good at this? Oh my gosh.
So Lester Watts was an amazing actor.
Yeah, he was actually quite good.
I genuinely believed he was awful. Like he was so good at being a horrible bugger.
Oh,
yeah, he was awful.
I know.
So he'd been in prison for demanding money with menaces.
Which I believe.
You can totally see it. Also, don't you kind of see him as just that like flashy guy who could have caught Trudy's eye very easily because he was always wearing like tight sweaters and like tight suits and like, you know, so much Brill cream in his hair and like all that kind of stuff like that. And then, you know, the second he gets what he wants, it's like, okay, well now I own you and I'm just going to be terrible. I also
thought that her mum was very part of the whole thing. She was very calculated in getting her together with him because she wanted that lifestyle. I just say about the actor, by the way, his name's James Farrow, and I knew I'd seen him somewhere else. He's in Silent Witness, but he's also in EastEnders. He's been quite a big part in EastEnders. I don't watch EastEnders, but I've seen bits with him, and he's brilliant. So shout out.
Girls, who do you think is worse, the mother, Trudy's mother, or Lester? Not that there's like an answer, but just
Lester
out of discussion.
Puts his
who do you think?
Fags out on her, and actually probably, you know, actually physically and emotionally abuses her. I know the mum emotionally abuses her as well.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to say Lester.
I've got written he's a nasty piece of work.
He really is. You're not wrong.
He is. I think, what did I say about him here? Wait, let me get.
Do you know what I thought was, by the way, I said Mickey, by the way. Mickey is the cutest little cutie.
Oh my gosh. He's adorable. Mickey is so adorable.
My daughter walked in, obviously, constantly. I watched it. She just walked in while it was on and she was like, what's up with his eye? And I was like, it's a patch that you wear. I used to wear a patch when I was little. I had a lazy eye. And she was like, really? She was like, well, you as cute as him. And I was like, yeah.
No, cuter.
Yeah, no. He was so cute. Also, how weird was that scene with the tights, by the way?
Oh, yeah. Well, also, like, what did they say they were going to use the tights for? Like straining something? Some food thing, right?
Yeah, I don't know.
They were going to put some...
know.
What did they say they were going to do with her tights?
Are you talking about when he was...
taking her tights off her?
Yeah, and Phyllis was standing there and then she saw and she felt really uncomfortable about it. Remember that part where they were having the big party?
Yeah, but I didn't remember them saying they were going to use them.
Did they boil something in it, like a suet pudding or something?
Yeah, the mother
making some up here.
Yeah, the mother said they were going to use them for some food thing, and like the reason I remember that, and I don't remember what she said it was because that left my brain. But the reason I remember that was I was like, oh well, that's disgusting. Like her foot has been in that stocking all day, like, and her leg too, which is okay, like, you know, whatever. But I'm like, you can't put food like it just really grossed me out to think of like food or something edible or whatever, like going into like a foot or anything. Like I don't know. You're
speaking to Bex here, who is really ridiculously, what's the word? Not OCD, but you're very careful when it comes to food prep. So she won't be doing that. You'll probably find it a bit more in my house, maybe, but I don't think I would put near food.
I mean, I don't know. I just was like, no, feet and food do not go together. Like, keep the feet out of the party,
apart from the gangsters and the horrible abuser and the weird tight thing. That party was cool. I really like the music.
Oh, but I would not have wanted to be Nurse Crane walking into it.
Oh, no, God, that would have been awkward. Well, to be fair, I'd have been like, great party, guys. How have you got everyone like pumping at a party on like a Wednesday afternoon at like 2 p.m. It was a weird time as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was very strange. Just a word to go back to my question. Yes, Lester is horrible, and like that is undebatable. Like he is just terrible. But I will say this: I don't think it. I just want to advocate for how badly I think of that mother as well.
Yeah,
because that's Trudy's mom, right? Like that's her biological mother that like gave birth to her, raised her. Like, if you think about the years and years of horrible parenting at best and
That's
something
what I mean. That's why I
else
think
at
she's
worst.
introduced them. That's why I genuinely think she introduced them.
No, I agree. I think that's why she introduced them too. But I wouldn't say, I don't think carte blanche that like Lester is worse than the mother. Like, I think in some ways the mother is worse than Lester, because the mom like literally like, you know, paved the way for Trudy to be in the situation that she's in. And then when she's so terrible to Trudy, when she finally decides to leave this abusive man, that is even huger like nail in the coffin of how terrible she is. So I would just say, like, to me, the mom and Lester are running like really neck and neck in terms of who's the bigger villain. That's all.
Yeah, they're both absolutely awful.
Yeah, I mean,
I just didn't understand. I didn't understand her mother's loyalty, because she's loyal to Lester, and Lester's like, once Trudy's out of the picture.
Yeah,
but
he's
she's
not
hoping
going to stay.
Trudy won't be out of the picture. That's what she's trying to make sure.
Right. And she's probably gonna do this thing where she's like, oh well, even if she left, like, she's a little madam, and like, I'll stay around, and like, I can help you with this or whatever. She'd be the kind of mom that would like want to have an affair with him after Trudy was gone, or even while she was probably still there, because she's, you know, kind of that type. Like, Trudy makes a comment like, oh, she's always gone from like man to man to man, and like, you know, just a series of traumatic like boyfriends and husbands and ex-husbands like through my childhood and everything, because like she had the depression and mental health issues when she was a kid as well. Remember that she
and
says?
Also, how old do we think Trudy was? Because that mum, she's around our age.
Oh God. I mean,
Mickey was 5.
So... No, Mickey was 6. So say she had Mickey. Yeah. Say she had Mickey maybe 16, 17.
That makes it even weirder that my 6-year-old was like, he's really cute. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
so that's weird.
About right. Yeah, I think that's about right. Yeah. Just terrible. Like, just that, oh God, that mother is so terrible. And like the fact that she would say that say to her daughter that she's an unfit parent, she's
another brilliant actress. She's Lucy Speed. She was in EastEnders as well. Do you remember that? She had an affair with Ricky when he was she was the best friend of Bianca Jackson.
Oh,
yeah. It was a massive storyline over here, Jen, when we were teenagers.
Oh, I do remember. I was glad though that it was a realistic portrayal of Lester's that gangster persona, because they always glamorize it. It's like the Cray twins.
Yeah,
it's always glamorized, whereas actually they're just complete thugs.
Yeah, absolutely. That is a very good point. Because they are very much glamorized. There's all these big films about legend and stuff like that. They're called stuff like that about Ronnie and Reggie Cray. People call their pets Ronnie and Reggie because of it. And these people ruined people's lives. They were awful. They would terrorize the whole place, and they scared everyone. And they were absolute horrible non-law abiding citizens that we do not endorse on this podcast.
No. Well, and one of the most heartbreaking scenes, I mean, so basically just to say, like, when Lester gets out of prison, Trudy is, you know, basically 8.5 months pregnant. Like, she's right about to drop. She's ready to go. And, you know, they have this very happy reunion for the first day, and it's all very cute and whatever like that. Will very quickly realizes that it's like, this is not all as it seems. But the scene that really breaks my heart is that one thing that Trudy says to him is like, please don't go back to the boxing gym. I just don't like it. And if you are going to go back, like, I don't want Mickey anywhere near there, because I just don't think it's a good environment for him. And then the first thing that happens is Lester takes Mickey to the boxing gym when he like picks him up early from school one day. And then they go over there, and then Trudy comes running in, and like, he just had this big speech with Mickey about, oh, who loves you most in the world? And Mickey's like, my mom. And he's like, yeah, well, who loves you second?
That he answered his mom. I was like, yes,
exactly. And then he's like, okay, well, who loves you second most? And he was like, I really don't know. And he's like, well, that'd be me, your dad. And he's like, oh, I don't really know if I agree with you on that one, but okay. And then he puts these boxing gloves on this little boy, and then he stands him in the ring, and you could tell this little kid is like shaking and like cowering away. And this other boy, who's also being traumatized by his family because he's, you know, being told to beat people up and everything.
This is in a school day as well. The 8-year-old also should have been in school. Carry on.
Yes, 1000%. And
but is that how old the other kid was? 8?
I just put him at 8.
Yeah.
I thought he was like a 12-year-old.
But I'm always terrible on age, so carry on. He still should have been in school though.
But I mean, we're all recognizing the fact, right, that he looks so much physically bigger than Mickey, basically. Yeah. And so then the kid is like, you know, like punching his hands together, like spoiling for a fight or whatever. And then Trudy comes in because Barbara's just told her that his dad picked him up from school, thinking that he was taking him to an eye doctor appointment. And then he's like, oh no, he went to the gym. And so they run. And then Mickey has just gotten knocked over, like literally flat on the ground, knocked over. And she runs in and she's like, no. And she grabs him and gives him a hug and everything. And she's like, how dare you bring him here? And she's so mad and everything. And then that's when, you know, they
she
go
went
back
to the police. which, if I'm honest, was not the
Peter
brightest thing she's ever done. Well,
but
also,
Peter annoyed me in this episode.
Oh, he annoys us all the time, though, doesn't he? And also, he is back again. We always think he says last one.
I know.
Again.
He's never going to be gone.
But I'm not being funny. Her going to the police, knowing he's the criminal, all this, like, it was not the brightest thing she could have done. And knowing he's got a temper, she should have just been planning furiously behind his back. But obviously, it's not part of the story.
Well, I wonder if she thought that if she made a complaint, that the police would actually do something, and then because of his record, they would just take him right back.
Yeah, but standing back, he took his son to go to a boxing. It's not the worst.
Well, yeah, I mean, she knew that once Peter told her and everything. Also, can I just say, like, okay, Peter annoys all of us, and like I am in that or whatever. But the thing that I feel like is really is so tough for Peter is that he has the very thankless job of just showing how inept and like unhelpful the police are during this time when it comes to domestic issues of certain types. Because he was like in the episode like back in the last season with the whole violent attack of that ship sailor or whatever like that, he was so inefficient, you know what I mean? And then remember,
but no, I'm gonna have to, it's not that they're inept and inefficient, it's that women have no rights.
Yes, that's what says the law as well.
Yes, he's a symptom rather than a cause of a system. But also for this one,
all he did was take his son to a gym. Like, he hasn't actually broken any law. Don't get me wrong, if my husband did that and took my daughter in and she got punched, I'd be so angry, I'd punch him to the ground. Pretty much what he did to Trudy, I'd lock him in a room. But
well, just
he hasn't done anything that's broken the law, has he?
No, he hasn't there. But also, like, but that was just one example. Like, because if she went to him and said, "Oh, but he's done this," then he'd be like, "Well, okay, but how are you going to prove it?" Because that's what the lawyer says to her later when she goes for the divorce. Because the lawyer's saying all this stuff that Lester has going for him, and she's like, "What about the fact that he like locked me in a room, he burned me with a cigarette, he did this, he did this, he did this?" And he's like, "Well, yeah, I know, but can you prove it? Like, you've got those marks, but how do we really know that he did that to you?"
Well, and that's the problem.
Yeah, so I mean, like, again, it's not just Peter, it's like a representative of a system of law that like absolutely does not respect.
Well, the fact she had to apply for custody of her children, he automatically got them.
Yeah.
In custody of it, which is ridiculous looking now.
Ridiculous, yeah.
Anyway, so he kicks off because she's gone to the police, which, if I'm honest, it was a bit of an overreaction to that. I'm not gonna lie. We're looking at this from a 2023 lens, but even then, husband had just been in prison for being a gangster. Don't think it was the right move by her.
Anyway. She should have taken him to the police after he like almost raped her, after he locked her into the bedroom. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of other stuff.
100%.
Gone to the police and yeah.
But my point being, she did that. He found out, went absolutely mental, burned her, locked her, assaulted her, locked her in the bedroom, and Mickey was a witness to all of it.
Mickey sat on the stairs outside.
I know.
Well, even when he's back on his first night and they all those like, you know, cool gangsters like leave the house after the party and everything, and he's like, okay, well, I want to have sex basically, and she's like, no, I really don't want to, like, please stop. And then he like keeps going, and she pushes him off, and then he's like, well, okay, I'll go down to whatever
Cable Street.
Yeah, and get some like girls who'll be willing to do it for like less than anything or whatever, and they'll do it way better than you. And then he literally throws her on the ground. And then
they wonder why Mickey has got developmental issues, always wetting the bed. Well, because he's so traumatized by his childhood watching his dad do that to his mum all the time.
Yeah, and he knows his father is coming home from prison, and he's like freaking out about it. Yeah, exactly.
So anyway, Trudy goes into labour when she's locked into this room.
Yeah,
and she gets Mickey to get her a knife. I was cheering like, "Go, Mickey!" Anyway, he gets her this knife. Somehow, I don't even know. I was watching it through I've watched this episode so many times, but even still, I was watching it through my hands because she managed to get out. But it was just so close.
Like hacking her way through the door lock to get there. I mean, my lord.
Yeah. So then she runs to Nonnatus House as well, waddles to Nonnatus House in labour. Oh, go on.
Yeah. I need to say something here because she's in a nightie when she's locked in that room. She gets herself into a dress to get to Nonnatus House.
Yeah.
Honestly.
I was impressed. I was impressed.
I would have just stuck a coat over my nightie.
Well, and
I wouldn't even bloody bothered with that.
And she put on heels, you girls. I mean, like, I literally put on slippers the second I get home every single day, and I'm not going through anything in my life at all.
I've been in my pajamas all day today. Not changed.
Did you notice as well? She had high-heeled slippers.
Oh my lord!
You know what? I used to think they were the epitome of like style when I was little.
Oh, I did too. You know, when they have that little like
the boa kind of thing
on the front of it.
I had a pair of them.
You didn't.
Somebody gave. I don't. They weren't slippers, but they were those shoes with the thing on the front. And someone gave them to me, and they were just like my play.
Like kitten mule things with like feathers on them.
Yeah, with the
my
fluffy,
god.
yeah.
Oh, girls. Okay,
them.
wait. A core memory just have to share with you all. Okay, so I had the exact same thing when I was a little girl. I love the whole princess thing, glamour, blah blah blah, whatever. I got these a pair of like little kitten heel, like slides like that. Exactly. They didn't have feather on the top, but I think they had like plastic jewels or something like that. And we had these tile floors in our house, and I thought there was nothing better than putting on those shoes and like clacking across the floor, like clack clack clack, because like all like adult women would like walk through buildings. You hear that like the high heels going against the thing, and I just would walk back and forth and back and forth, and my like the heel would like slap against my foot and then against the floor, and it just was like boop, boop. It was just a sound, and I'm like literally transported right now to being like about 4 years old and just like in these little heels, and I can picture them. They were like purple and pink and blue. Anyways, oh my gosh, that like
they're just so these dramatic. I used to love Blanche from Golden Girls. I used to watch it with my grandma when I was little.
Yes,
she used to have slippers like that, and she used to wear like a matching robe, and she thinks she was the epitome of style and elegance.
Glamour, though.
Yes, she actually is. I was right.
She is. No, nothing's changed. She is the
that's what Trudy wears to go to Nonnatus House to give birth.
But everybody's face when they see the cigarette burns on her when they get her inside.
I know. Well, so she bangs on the door, so she gets Mickey to bang on the door because she's like outside. Then Sister Julienne is like, we need to get her inside, and Sister Ursula is kind of like, she needs to go to hospital, and Sister Julienne's like, we need to deal with her here to see what she needs, and then she looks and she's like, we need to get her into there right now, into the clinic room right now, because she's about to give birth.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, so it was Patsy, Julienne, and SMC, Sister Mary Cynthia. Yeah. And did you all notice that Sister Mary Cynthia looked troubled at the birth?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, because she saw the violence that was on Trudy's body already, and she was starting to have some cracks were showing big time.
Well, and she'd already obviously had some issues. We'll talk about that later. But yeah,
I will say we've ragged on Sister Ursula. The only nice thing,
she was nice
during this episode was comfort Mickey and then offer him some biscuits. And for a scared little boy, I thought she actually did treat him nicely. That's my one nice thing I can say about her. Now, should she have done it and not get any credit for it because it's exactly what you should do? Absolutely yes, but at least she had some humanity on display.
I think maybe Hitler would have even offered a little kid a chocolate biscuit in that case. She's awful.
Oh, I think she's awful too, but yeah. Anyways.
So anyway, she gives birth safely to a little girl.
Yeah.
No, the baby had pooed at meconium, wasn't it? Because it looked and it was green.
Oh, it was really, that really made me feel ill actually seeing that. I was like,
I've never seen it. I'm not gonna lie. Every single time I knew when to turn away.
I will say this. I was worried that it indicated something was really badly wrong, but then Dr. Turner was like, oh no, she just pooped her pants for like a lot of times. And anyway, we're gonna clean her right up, but it'll all be fine. And I was like, oh, well, okay, if no one else seems worried about this, then I guess
she says she doesn't want to go back home. She's really scared and she doesn't want Lester to find them. So she goes to the maternity home, and Dr. Turner, the Turners, take Mickey in. And it was so cute the way he was describing the fact Mickey was watching TV with Tim in Angela's old pajamas that are too small for him.
Slightly too small pajamas from Angela, yeah.
Oh, so then she says she's going to leave him. But then Lester turns up at the maternity home as well, doesn't he? Doesn't he?
What did he look like with those bloody boxing gloves round? Like he looked like, I won't swear and say the word, but he just looked like an idiot.
Like a douche.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, he looked terrible. Yeah. And again, such a tight sweater. Oh my God. I mean,
but I think obviously they were proving the point that he's now, fully committed to that life. He's never going to turn himself around. He's just there doubling down on the gym life, the boxing ring.
Well, they were trying to make him look really hard too, with like all the muscles out and everything.
Yeah,
like,
but also to indicate that he would still take Mickey. He's not going to change.
Oh yes. Well, when he says like, "Oh, I came to see what's mine" and everything, oh my God, a chill ran up my spine. It was terrible.
To be fair, it is his daughter, but not that I'm defending Lester.
But not. Yeah. No, I mean, no, not.
Yeah, we know how we meant it. So anyway, she then announces she wants to get a divorce. She's really spooked by the fact that he found her there. So she goes and pawns a wedding ring, and she's like, I'm alone, no one's going to help me. So she pawns a wedding ring and gets a taxi to her house and gets a locksmith to change the locks.
I was screaming though, don't go home.
Same.
Yeah, I thought going home was a bit of a mistake as well. I was like, well, okay, you're locking him out, but then what's going to happen? You're never going to leave the house? Like, you're going to have to leave the house to do stuff. Like, how are you going to, like, it didn't. But again, I mean, I didn't want to, as I was thinking that, I'm like, but this is a woman who's like really in a tough spot and doesn't have a good plan. Like, she's just made this decision on the fly. So like,
given birth.
Yeah. Yeah, like 10 hours before it at best, you know?
Yeah, so she gets the solicitor and he's basically like, there's nothing you can do. I literally can't help you. We're in 1960, 61. The man has all the power. You've got to apply for custody. You have got to basically prove that. And then the mum's there basically telling him that she's mental and that she's done this before and she's not going to keep the child for because of a mental history. And that she'd testify as well, she said, didn't she?
Mm-hmm.
And then she shows the cigarette burns.
But doesn't that happen after Lester shows up?
Maybe, yes. So you carry on there.
Sister Mary Cynthia comes round because obviously everybody at the Nonnatus House is aware of her situation. So they want to make sure that she's getting care. But what I want to know, why did they, like, knowing the Sister Mary Cynthia has just been through, why did they send Sister Mary Cynthia?
I'm thinking that's maybe an Ursula decision.
Maybe. Mm-hmm. I was just like, of all the people to send. And also, did anybody, I think, so Sister Mary Cynthia goes around to check on her and she's talking to her. But did you notice Mickey when Lester comes and bangs on the door?
No.
What did he do?
Jumped out of his skin.
I saw him shudder. I remember seeing that. Yeah.
But I reckon they didn't. They can't have told him that he was going to be banging on the door because he genuinely jumped.
Oh,
I need to rewatch that. Oh, he deserves an Oscar.
Yeah, really. He's such a good little child actor because he just did everything perfect in that. He played that role exactly right. Yeah.
So it goes awful because basically Lester gets access to the house again after all this kicks off.
Yeah.
And the mum is changing the locks. She's there to make sure that the locks get changed, locksmiths come in so that Lester has it and that she's not getting a key. So she
says, Madam here.
Yeah.
Madam here isn't getting any keys.
And she seems happy about it. And his daughter is catatonic on the sofa, just given birth.
Yeah.
Absolutely bereft, just doesn't know what to do. She
won't even let Phyllis go and talk to her. Like she bars her in the doorway. Yeah.
It's just awful.
Terrible.
So then Trudy drops the children off at the police station and Nonnatus House get a call.
And Peter, like, honestly, I was just like, for Christ's sake, Peter. He says, how could a mother abandon her children? You know exactly what she's going through. That's exactly why she's left the children there, because of the dire situation she's in that you won't help her with.
Yeah. Oh, Peter.
I was just like, he had no empathy. And he was exactly the same as he was with Lizzie in the previous episode. Like, he just had no empathy of the situation that the women were in.
Or no thought about other situations that could be apart from his first thought that he thought in his head.
Well, I literally was thinking about our conversation when we talked about the attacking, like the guy who was doing those attacks around London and how he went in and talked to, I can't remember the lady's name, but Colin Cottingham's wife, whoever that was.
Yeah. Was it Ruby? No.
Colin Coleman.
Colin Coleman. Yeah. So Sister Julian talks to the wife and then tells Peter.
It was Judith Coleman.
Yeah. And so then he comes to Nonnatus House while they're all having dinner or lunch, whatever it is. And he's like, I don't know. What are we going to do? And, he's like, maybe it was Colin who did this. And that's when Patsy says, oh, no. Like, he's the most passive, gentle human being, like not even as aggressive as like a marshmallow bunny or whatever. And then literally Peter's like, oh, well, do you think she could be soliciting? And it's like, her. So it's like, okay, well, her husband's beating her up or she's a prostitute. That's how far you're going to jump. Like, you want to stop.
So hang on, let's get back to Trudy. So Trudy got to a hostel and got help for getting full custody and relocation. But hang on, how did she actually get all that help?
Go ahead, Bex.
Nurse Crane steps in, doesn't she? And helps her.
Oh, good.
Oh, okay. So they say that they don't really show it in what I remember, because I feel like Trudy was in the house and all of the stuff was happening with the custody and divorce and the locks getting changed, and then all of a sudden it just kind of like diverted to Cynthia and some other storylines, and then it was just like, well, anyways, now it worked out, and like we got to
gave him a blue balloon. I just remember the blue balloon on the bus and him being like, bye.
Yeah,
and I was like, he's going to lose that because it's hanging out the back of the bus.
That's exactly what I thought.
I think old Jenny Lee just wrapped it up at the end.
Yeah, that's what I thought as well. I mean, look, so just to say, like, Trudy, the way that they wrap it up is that, Phyllis and some other, social service people like connect her to services where she gets a council flat. They move basically out of London. She gets custody of the kids full time, and it kind of works out. It's a good ending.
Not like, for Lester, it's not.
Yeah, I mean,
I hope her mum had a terrible ending as well, by the way.
Oh,
I
God.
hope Lester throws her mum out on the street because he'll meet someone new. There's going to be a new
Well,
mother-in-law.
Yeah, the
Oh,
thing is,
totally.
Lester, as soon as Trudy is gone, he's just gonna be like, oh well, she was a crazy, like something horrible, and then he'll just go find another young woman who's vulnerable and do the same exact thing to her. I mean, he's just a perpetual abuser. But the thing is, like, I wasn't wishing for this to happen. Obviously, I appreciated that it kind of was a positive ending to Trudy's story, but it will come as a surprise to no one. So this isn't really that original, but like these situations are like really terrible, and the violence is like so bad, and I was glad. I don't know, I didn't want it to be worse for any of them, but at the same time it felt a little bit tidy, and so I don't know, that's my own personal thing.
Yeah, but
I don't,
it's a Sunday night. You want it to be tidy. It's good
I
for us.
know, I know, I know. I just and it wasn't trying to like it wasn't I mean the horror of these domestic violence situations is obviously apparent to all of us, so it didn't have to be worse to make it any better or more valid as a storyline. So I don't mean to make it sound like I'm criticizing that in any way, I guess. I don't know. Anyways.
I just thought a whole thing that we've skipped is that Nurse Crane convinces Peter not to call social services, and then she goes and she finds Trudy.
That's what we skipped. That's what we skipped.
Oh,
because
yes, there we go.
Trudy is like Trudy doesn't see a future and she's like feeling suicidal, and then Nurse Crane talks to her and like convinces her.
Yeah, she finds she's absolutely she's in despair. She's so desperate, and she finds her at this place she spoke to her about. Thank God she had that good relationship with her to know about that. Well done, Bex. You absolutely.
There we go. There we go. That's the hero memory that we need right now.
When Nurse Crane, did you notice the scene when Nurse Crane was like really frustrated with the whole situation in the evening when she was making drinks with the girls?
Oh,
yeah, the Brandy Alexander.
But I love the way she was just like, it just made me laugh so much. Also, it's like she's one of the girls now. Like once upon a time, she wouldn't have been in there.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's solely down to Barbara, her closeness with Barbara.
And the fact that Trixie's still in South Africa.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, true. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Also, can I just say, I'm not fast forwarding to heroes and zeros here. Although, Jen, get it in your head so you can actually think of one. But but what an episode for villains this week. We've got Lester, we've got Sister Ursula, and we've got Trudy's mum. Like, it's absolute plethora.
Yeah. Well, and
Bountiful.
never forget, this is the series opener. So this is like, you're like, oh, Call the Midwife is back. Yes, my favorite show, back. Woo. And then all of a sudden, bam, it just hits you with the harsh life of these poor patients and people and everything. And it's
just Sister Ursula stopping SMJ dancing was just enough for me to be like, oh.
I mean, look, I come and go with Sister Monica Joan, but just let her have her fun. Come on.
Yeah.
Like she's an old woman. She's just trying to live her life in peace and just enjoy the things she wants to enjoy. Just let her do it.
Well, on the subject of Sister Ursula, and like Becky's fantastic segue before, the way Sister Ursula spoke to Sister Mary Cynthia was terrible. Should we go on to that?
Yes, let's talk about that one. Mm-hmm.
Well, I've just got dismissive and cruel written in massive letters here.
Yeah.
And she was speaking to Sister Mary Cynthia about her study.
Mm-hmm.
And she was obviously struggling. And she's a real people pleaser. Sister Julienne said that about her, that she lives and breathes to please people.
Yeah.
And Sister Ursula was putting so much pressure on her. And even when she was talking to her, you could see Sister Mary Cynthia wasn't coping. And there was no glimmer of care or love or anything warm towards her. She was just very cold and unnecessarily cruel again.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I feel like she was also making Sister Mary Cynthia doubt herself.
100%.
Yeah.
And she was really twisting a lot of the things she said to make it sound worse, which I just thought, again, was just very unfair and like not a good way to really relate to people or to help them through something challenging, like taking lifelong vows to do this, service as a nun. I mean, I was like, do you want her to take the vows or not? Because you're really undercutting her at every turn, not lifting her up, not fortifying her, not reassuring, not supporting her. Like you're just not helping.
Sister Julienne even said to Sister Ursula about Sister Mary Cynthia, saying, she was assaulted not long ago.
Yeah.
We need to stop putting so much pressure on her. Sister Ursula absolutely dismissed Sister Julienne because she's just horrible. But so then, obviously...
Well, wait, just 1 second. She says to Sister Julienne in response to that, she's like, well, she gave evidence for the police. She testified. Like, what else do you want? Like, that's it. She just dealt with her feelings, and then there you go. And it's like, and Sister Julienne was like, no, that's not it. That's really not how it goes. And she was like, well... And then just moved right on. And I was just like,
yeah.
Are you kidding?
Well, I'm going to accuse Sister Ursula of sending Sister Mary Cynthia to Lester and Trudy's house. That's going to be on her. And then that really rattled Sister Mary Cynthia, and she couldn't cope with it. And obviously there'd been the birth where she'd seen the upsetting things, and it's just been this big drama when, you know, she was already very unsettled and overwhelmed. And then that happened. And then she was sent to that when it really upset her, and will have absolutely brought her back to the moment that she was assaulted.
Yeah.
And then she just couldn't cope, and she locked herself in a room. And there was the most gorgeous scene with Sister Monica Joan, Sister Juliet, and Sister Mary Cynthia. There's too many sisters there, but we all know who I'm talking about. And Sister Mary Cynthia was so upset, but Sister Julianne and Sister Monica Joan were so caring and loving and still with her, and it was just absolutely gorgeous.
Well, and just a word to say about that scene, because Cynthia is really coming unraveled. And actually, I hadn't thought about this in a while, but Cynthia is a very sensitive and empathic person. And we had seen her kind of struggle when, this was way back in the first or second season, when she had the birth where she didn't do anything wrong, but the baby subsequently passed away. And then she felt like she had this real crisis of ability in terms of being able to be a midwife again. She was like, what happens if I hurt the baby? What happens if I hurt a mother? And Peter investigates and that whole thing. And she kind of, flees and like kind of, spins out for a little while, and then they have to kind of step in and take care of her. And I'm not bringing that up in any way to say that there's anything wrong with her, but just to say like, she's a very sensitive person, and like she deals with these things really sensitively. And so when she had this kind of breakdown in her room, to me, it made a lot of sense. I mean, also just in the context of this one particular episode as well, it did. But I'll just reveal something a little personal. That scene where Sister Julia and Sister Monica Joan rush in and comfort Sister Mary Cynthia, when she's like really, like she's crying, she's kind of coming unraveled, she's just kind of, doesn't know where she's going and everything. And she asks them to tell her the quote by, yes. Well, Sister Julianne is the one that says it, but it's a different...
No, it's Julianne. It was Julianne. That's what she said.
Yes. Now, I'm just gonna give you guys a hint. Okay, this quote will be in the series recap for this series, because I just think it's such a powerful
remember
quote.
that.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm not gonna do a good job remembering it right now. But when I first watched this scene a few years ago, like there were some challenging and sad things going on in my life personally, and I had been previously going through some challenging and sad times. When I heard that quote, I was so deeply affected by it, and I felt so seen and acknowledged by that quote, and it really, really touched me. And I've thought about that scene many, many times since. And when I watched it yesterday, I hadn't realized that it was going to be this episode that it would come up in. And I mean, everyone knows I'm a big crier when I watch Call the Midwife, but when I tell you, I genuinely did have tears running down my face when I watched that scene and heard that quote back again. Now, I'm in a much, much better place. Things are going well. I don't feel the same way I felt at the time I first watched that, but it just still really, really affected me. And this show, it just continues to amaze in terms of how it can really reach you in these profound ways. And oh gosh, girls. Anyways,
also in ways like none of us were pregnant or midwives in the 60s.
No,
it's stuff that we can still relate to now.
Yeah, I've never been through
nothing to do with our lives.
Well, the thing is, I've never been through anything like Sister Mary Cynthia has gone through ever. Thankfully, gratefully, I've never had to go through that. And yet, when you are suffering, when you are in trouble, when you feel very unglued, when you are really, in a place where you are processing very deep and painful feelings, that is universal in a lot of ways. That experience is relatable to us all, no matter who we are, because that's part of being human. And this show just ultimately really taps into that basic humanity.
Well, also not just humanity, being women.
Well, women, yes. Surely the female experience specifically. Definitely.
So we can all relate to that, obviously.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
So anyway,
so Sister Ursula.
Right, Sister Ursula. But so Sister Mary Cynthia is kind of having this real deep trouble. Dr. Turner comes in for a consultation. He talks to her. He asks her some questions. He obviously has a history with, post-traumatic stress, and dealing with it and kind of recovery from it and everything. He recommends to Sister Ursula that she go to a clinic that he thinks is especially tailored to what she is going through, and that will be the most restorative to her during that time.
And it's near her family, he says, doesn't he?
Right, exactly. And you can tell he's really put some thought and effort into figuring out where he should recommend that she go, and where he should recommend that she go. And Sister Ursula, again, so harsh, so insensitive, so earning her little badge of villainhood in this episode. She's just like, oh, well, I sent her to the mother house where we all
Nonnatus, but no, but she's like, the Nonnatus are a family now.
Yeah.
I've sent her to the mother house. So exactly. Cold.
Oh, and just well, she can just figure it out when she gets there and whatever. And I'm like, girls. It just sent me to the moon and back when I when I heard her in that scene. I just was like, God, you are really just a nightmare. Really just a nightmare. Anyways.
So then that's the last we see Sister Mary Cynthia for a little while. But we do see her again.
Thank goodness.
Yeah. Should we talk about something a bit nicer?
Let's please do. Oh God.
Shall we talk about the Turners?
Yes.
Girls,
First off, we talk about Tim shaving. It just made me feel, my God, he's so old now.
I liked it when Sheila's pregnant, so Sheila's got morning sickness and she's had to rush off and she's left him on the desk and he's on the phone and he's like, no, I can't prescribe because I'm only 15.
But bless him as well, not many 15-year-olds would be able to cope in the reception of a doctor's office.
Oh, Tim is biologically 15, but spiritually and mentally he is like 40 years old already. I mean, yeah, he does so much, that boy.
Also, the way that Sheila broke the news to Dr. Turner was lovely. I was like, I love it. That was a weird picture, wasn't it?
I did not like the pregnancy reveal.
Oh, I thought it was cute that it said, "Will you be my dad?" But just that weird like crayon drawing of a fetus, I just was like, Sheila, no, please don't. Like, what? So when Dr. Turner said, "Will you be my wife?" or like, "Will you be my mom?" or whatever, like,
"Will you marry my mom?" He gave it. It was a picture from Timothy.
Oh, but what was the picture of? Do we remember by any chance? Like what the imagery was that was selected for that?
I want to say butterfly, but then I think that's a dead butterfly he gave hers.
No, that was what Tim gave. Tim sent a dead.
Yeah, exactly what I mean. I think I'm mixing stuff up.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, I don't know. I just was like, Sheila, just don't.
Maybe he did it with a picture of an embryo. We don't know.
No, wasn't it one of Tim's drawings?
Yeah, of an embryo, maybe. That's what we're saying.
Oh, I don't know. It's just weird. I didn't like that.
It was an awful idea of Sheila's. She shouldn't have run with it.
Well, I will say this: the Bry nylon did its work. Okay,
that's
like
what I was going to say.
That nightie was the best investment she'd ever made. That and a trip to Africa where they were all, heated up and everything. My
dysentery and cesarean sections were obviously heating them up. Yeah.
Apparently all it took was, like a sunburn and, some polio vaccination clinic like work and
apparently if you're like struggling to conceive whatever, you need to be relaxed. How were they relaxed on this really stressful trip to Africa?
I think they were probably the most they were relaxed ever because they didn't have any kids around. They didn't have any of their general responsibilities. All they had to do was like something that they love the most and like can chill out on, which is the polio vaccine. They remember also, never forget, they got that 24-hour trip to wherever they dropped off Dr. Myra at. You don't think they stopped in a little hotel for the night and had a little, second honeymoon or whatever, like on their way back because it was too late to drive back to Hope Clinic? Like they were probably living their best life in Africa. That was probably the first time they'd really been able to like fully chill out in like the whole time they've been married, basically.
True. I loved that Sister Winifred thought she still had a dodgy belly.
Like 2 weeks after getting back from Africa. Yeah.
Oh man.
I
like the way she's that innocent. Right. Barbara
also, and Tom. Sorry, before we move on, just a quick word to say I loved when Sheila told Sister Julianne that she was pregnant. That was just such a beautiful.
Yeah, that was.
It was beautiful. That moment between the two women, like, again, like, I know she was acting, but Sister Julianne just looked so genuine in her response to finding out that news. And it was just, oh my God, those two girls, I love them together. They're just so
That's how she should have done it with Dr. Turner.
Yes. 100%. Because
Dr. Turner, like, saw the note and he was like, wait a minute.
What? I really want one of my friends to get pregnant now. And I'm going to be in their ear being like, what you should do? Draw a picture of a fetus and say, you're going to be my dad or something, and see how the husband reacts.
He'll be like, no, I don't want to.
Okay, you were one of the first people I told I was pregnant, Bex, weren't you? I told John and then you.
Yeah, because you did a pregnancy test and you were like, it's negative. And I was like, do another one.
Because I had like a week-long hangover because I went on a hen do. And then I did another one on your advice because I felt so sick. And then it said pregnant. And I was like, oh my God, I've been drinking. And then I just basically had a panic attack and was like, oh my God, how am I going to do this? And spoiler, I haven't. It's 6 years and I'm still struggling.
And that sounds pretty highly relatable, to be honest with you.
I was doing face painting at 7:50 this morning Anyway, so Barbara and Tom.
Yep.
Now, Becky, I know you've got strong opinions on this wedding ring, engagement ring.
Oh, go off, Bex. Go off.
Well, Barbara had to buy. Tom's like really disappointed that he's not been able to give her a ring.
Mm-hmm.
He should have just given her the grandmother's ring.
Yeah, same.
No,
well,
sorry.
He could have given it or pawned it and given it.
Is that better than her having to buy her own engagement ring?
Is it better that she bought her own engagement ring?
So it can't be a better situation that she's now had to buy her own engagement ring. Surely it would have been better just to have the grandmother's ring. I don't know why everyone's got a problem with the grandmother's ring.
I'm gonna vote here. I do think grandmother's ring as well.
So I'm not gonna be a good answer that, but I don't have a problem with the grandmother's ring. I don't at all. But I also think that like Tom was waffling back and forth, and Barbara decided to make an investment in their relationship together, their marriage.
Yeah, which I get.
The ring
totally
that
for her deciding that.
Which to me is like so modern and like so feminist and like so like, you know, listen, like I don't need a man to give me a ring. Like I know what my relationship is with my partner. Like I'm not going to ask him to give me a ring. Like this is an investment in our relationship. But then why did she need a ring?
Why did she need a ring at all if that was her?
Because it mattered to her. She wanted it as a symbol outwardly to the community that she was engaged, and she knew it mattered to Tom as well.
Yeah, but I don't understand why it couldn't be his ring. Why could it not be the ring he already had? Why she wasted that money? They could have saved spend that on.
But Tom never said, I'm going to give you my grandmother's ring, and Barbara was like, no, I don't want that. Did she say that ever? I never heard that.
Well, that's my point. Why didn't she just get that ring? They've shared a man. They don't mind sharing a ring.
Because Barbara, it wasn't important to Barbara to have a ring at all.
Exactly, which is why I don't understand why she couldn't have that ring.
Well, but the thing is, Tom didn't want to give it to her. He was going to try to find another one anyway. So clearly it was like, for whatever reason, for the two of them, that was off the table. So maybe it could have been, but it just wasn't something that they wanted to do. So then it was like, okay, well, we have to figure out something else. And Tom was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Blah, blah, blah. Now, I think personally that Tom, with whatever income he has, could have scraped together something to buy something for her. I don't know why he really couldn't do that, but
because he's feeding all the homeless in Poplar.
He should have pawned the ring though and just swapped it.
That would have been fine, I think.
Yeah, that's what I think should have happened. Also, can I just say I really love this bit where Barbara was like, I'm not Jar Jar Gabor.
Well, and to her credit, she says, she's like, that blade of grass is as special and important to me as anything else I would ever have. So, I mean, I will say this. I like the idea of Barbara being like, you know what, look, I have my money. I'm going to buy this piece of jewelry for myself. I know what it represents. It's not any less because I'm getting it for myself. And then she actually goes and picks out what she wants. I mean, to be
honest, it wasn't even Tom that annoyed me about it. It was the whole of the Poplar community constantly asking to see a ring.
Yeah. Well, the oppressive social standards that all of these girls are living through in this time is like apparent every single episode. Like none of us should be surprised at this point of like how much social control exists in this community. Like you have to do things a certain way to quote be correct. And
it's 2023. It's still like that.
Well, yeah, it is. I mean, it's a little less now, but it still is in many, many ways. But certainly in the 1960s, I mean, my God, it's just you can never get away from it. It's ridiculous.
Potter's Wheel on the Commonwealth Day. What Commonwealth Day? Ooh.
Girl, okay.
Celebrates that.
So, girls, what is Commonwealth Day for all of us non-Brits that are going to be out here?
I'm a Brit and I have no flaming clue.
So the Royals, because I do love the Royals, they go to a Commonwealth service every year.
Okay.
So maybe that's on Commonwealth Day.
Well, I mean, what's the Commonwealth, right? It's the UK and then all of the countries that are included in UK
we took over nastily,
yeah.
Well,
so
the Commonwealth was formed relatively recently.
Okay.
But what?
I'm sorry, I don't have any cultural context to this, so I don't know how to explain what Commonwealth is to anyone.
Yeah, but I don't either. I just don't know when it started.
Well, it didn't seem like it was the first one when they were doing it in the episode.
Oh, right. Well, that might make sense then.
But I don't know that they were starting it. I mean, I feel like it's something that like maybe started after World War II or something like that. I don't know. It sounds like it was I don't know. I mean, I will say to your point, Bex, it seems like the Royals care about the Commonwealth. I don't know many Brits who talk about it, but...
Well, 1958 apparently it started.
1958. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's basically the former empire, isn't it? And they joined together to form the Commonwealth.
Okay. And when did it all become a Commonwealth? Do you know?
I don't know. I know nothing about. I like watching the Commonwealth Games. I'll tell you that for nothing. So there's the European Athletics Championship. There's obviously the Olympics. There's the World Championships, which is obviously there in America and Canada and Japan and everyone. But there's the Commonwealth Games as well, and I do like that. I'm not going to lie.
It was the Queen's. It was King George
who did what?
The Queen's father called King George.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He formed the Commonwealth, and that's why it was so important to the Queen.
Oh, okay. And then she started Commonwealth Day in the 60s, in the late 50s.
1958, Harold Macmillan changed its name to Commonwealth Day. We know nothing about Commonwealth Day because it's not something that's celebrated.
It's not something that's celebrated.
It's not a big holiday in the UK.
So you guys don't ever have a Commonwealth Day anything?
No. I've never had it at school.
I do enjoy watching the royals attend a church service. I literally watch them arrive, step out of a car, walk into a church service.
I've never heard of it before this, so well done, Bex, for actually knowing. But anyway, they obviously having a do for it, and they have this potter's wheel that Barbara was on, and it made me absolutely laugh.
I loved it when she said that last time she was on the wheel, things became quite violent.
Well, she wasn't wrong when it happened again when she was doing a demonstration for the brownies. Also, how's Violet got time for the brownies? Where are these people getting all this time?
I'll never know.
But did you know when Barbara was talking to Tom and saying that she was going to have to do this pottery demonstration, and he was like, well, I've got to teach the Maori haka.
I've got to teach the what?
The Maori haka. Have you ever seen a haka?
No, I don't know what that is.
So I know of it because the New Zealand rugby team do it. So that's the limit of and we do have some listeners in New Zealand, don't we?
Yeah, but basically the only reason I know it as well is the New Zealand rugby team.
Yeah, so if you go onto YouTube or something and look at a New Zealand haka, you'll see it. And they do
traditional, it's not a dance, but it's like a ceremonial kind of the movement like a dance kind of thing. There's no music or anything, but it's to scare their opponents.
To it.
Yeah.
And they scare their opponents with it.
Yeah,
it's like a traditional.
I think
isn't it?
I think I've seen this. I watched some sports movie one time and I think I saw it. Yeah, where they kind of like stomp their feet and they kind of like make their bodies into like a larger shape with their arms to
We've
the side.
We've probably got this entirely wrong, and
we're apologetic for getting it wrong. But
is it it's like a legacy of like a tribal or like native culture that's part of those parts of the world? Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
But I really want to see Tom doing it.
You know what? Probably better that we don't actually see Tom doing it, because that's straying into some very questionable territory that maybe we don't really need to watch. Like,
speaking of straying into questionable territory or just straying away from Poplar, again, another seamless link. Patsy's dad's not very well.
Right. I know. Yeah, I think she's about to go away too.
Yeah, because doesn't he live in Taiwan or Hong Kong? Yeah.
Now,
well, at the minute she's just got a letter. She's not opened it yet, has she?
But also,
she says at the end
that she's going to go, right?
No, she says at the end to Delia when she's really moody with Delia, and she says she opens it and reads it and says that he's not. It's from his carer saying that he's not well. He's got this degenerative disease.
Yeah, which I thought was like a pre-diagnosed Alzheimer's. You know, like I don't know if Alzheimer's by name existed by then, but to me that's what I thought she was referencing.
So the carer's messaged, like obviously not messaged, like texting, but
sent her a DM. Yeah, exactly.
That's why she was very off with Delia, because obviously you take out most on the ones you love.
Yeah. Well, and she's like, I don't know if I should go, if I can go, if I really want to do this or whatever, and so they were kind of left hanging at the end of the episode as far as I remember.
Yeah. Right. Should we do heroes and zeros, ladies?
I'll go first. Ooh. Okay. My 0 is gonna be Trudy's mom. Yeah. I can't remember if she was named in the episode, but to me, she's as bad of a villain as we get in this episode. She certainly is neck and neck with Lester, but I just thought she was especially terrible. And there was something about her behavior. Not only it's like it's abuse by itself, but also it's betrayal of her as Trudy's mother. I just was like,
you're a protector when you're a mom. She wasn't protective at all.
And like the opposite of protective, like she was so hurtful and horrible, and I just was like, you are the nastiest piece of work. Like I could say a lot of other rude words about her, but I will leave it there. So she was horrible. And then my hero, you know what, I really just want to give it to Mickey, because he was so sweet, and I just thought, like he loves his mom so much, and I love Trudy. I think she, is a woman who's really going through the ringer, and I feel for her, but he like protected his mom. Like when I just think about him like running up to Nonnatus house and like banging on the door for help and everything, and he just like stuck right by her side, and I just love that little boy, and I just really, I know he's a fictional character, but I just really want him to have like grown up and had a good life and like be okay and everything else, and I just know he would be the best bigger brother and all that. So Mickey's my hero.
Love it. Bex?
My 0 is going to be Peter.
There you go.
Because he knows the situation that Trudy is in. He knows exactly what Lester is like, and he just has no compassion or empathy, or he just sticks I know he has to stick to the letter of the law, but if there's no like, my hands are tied with this, he just frustrates me massively.
Yeah, he's just like, oh well, anyways, what do you expect? Okay.
And then my hero is going to be Trudy. The fact that she actually gets herself out of that situation.
Yes. And protects the kids. That is a very good one.
And I know it's not that straightforward, because it's not easy to just walk away from that situation.
Right.
But it's the fact that she's determined, and she did it.
She did it. Yeah.
Okay, my 0 should be Lester as well, but I'm going to go with it. It's Ursula. I think she's absolutely horrific. She's so cruel with it. I just don't think there's any need. And for a nun, just F her. Now, my hero was going to be Sister Julienne. Obviously, she's amazing. She saw SMC, but it was more for the fact that she didn't turn the table over, because I would have. But I'm not going to do Sister Julienne as my hero this week.
Twist.
I am going to do Fred and Violet, the way he tells Violet she's got a lovely silhouette. And I just think, what a hero for celebrating older relationships that have still got it.
And also,
Fred and Violet
Fred notices when Sister Mary Cynthia comes back and drops a bike. Fred's like, something's up here.
And this was not a very Fred heavy episode, so we got to call out the Fred moments we did get.
Exactly. Right, ladies. Oh, go on.
Oh, I was just going to say, like, I just think there is nothing cuter when, like, now, I guess it could go either way, but I just think it's more cute when I hear husbands. But when husbands are just so complimentary of their wives, like, oh my God, isn't she so gorgeous? Like, isn't she so beautiful? Like, she's the most beautiful woman. Like, she's an angel. She's a this. I know men are not very effusive with those kind of comments, but when you do hear them or when you see scenes like this, like, I just do think it is so charming. And so
I'm going to play this part of the episode to my husband. Anyway.
Him. He needs to lavish you with more compliments.
True fact. You're hearing that? He's not even in the room. I don't know why I'm saying that, but you know, if he's
snoring, that's what he's going to be doing. He's just sleeping through.
Yeah. To be fair, he's just put my daughter to bed. Anyway, so
my daughter.
Mine. Anyway, so I've got an email here from Millie, and it's one of the most gorgeous emails we've ever received. So I really want you to listen to it, everyone.
I'm excited.
Hey guys, I started watching Call the Midwife when I was 11. Definitely not the show's target audience. You're not wrong there. I was just coming to terms with my own identity, and Patsy and Delia were the first sapphic couple I ever saw. Their kiss in the 2016 Christmas special made me feel so seen, and was a first step in being comfortable in my own identity as a lesbian. How amazing is that?
Oh my God, I love.
I know. I'm 19 now and have rewatched the show more times than I can count. Same, Millie. Each time I watch, I find a new thing to learn from. Now, this is amazing. I'm a trainee paramedic, and so now when I watch, I find it so funny to see how far medical advancements have come, but also what has stayed the same even after all these years later. I think the show shows so much more than the pregnancy in the 1950s, 60s. It really is a time capsule of the whole of society over that time period, the good and the bad. I love the show so much, but I haven't really had anyone to discuss it with, as no one my age really watches. And so I want to thank all of you for giving me a space to discuss what I think is an incredible and important show. Thanks, guys. Hope you continue to enjoy the show, hosting the podcast, and making a space for me to gush about one of the most formative shows of my life. How amazing that has been such a formative, amazing. I just love that. And also the fact with the perspective from a paramedic as well, like the medical aspects of it all.
Yeah, two very big parts of her identity are represented in the show so powerfully.
So Millie, shout out to you. Thank you so much for listening, and that was amazing point of view from the show as well. Like, we love the show, obviously we've done a podcast on it, but obviously for your formative years, that's amazing.
Millie, oh, love you, Millie. Oh my gosh, Millie, you have just made our day. Made my day 1000%. Oh my God, I love it. And you know what? I feel like this phrase is so overused now, but like, truly representation does matter. Like, I love it, you know, especially like when we haven't seen something we've gone through in anything we've observed it kind of out in the wider world, like in pop culture or whatever, and like just love it that this show was an opportunity for that. And yes, it really is a time capsule on the medical stuff too. I just love. Thank you for a
19-year-old as well. What an amazing, insightful point of view as well.
Yeah, I agree.
I was not that insightful at 19.
Well, I was thinking this is more insightful than our actual podcast.
To be honest, I won't be annoyed, Millie, if you form your own and take over this. I'll listen. I won't be annoyed. I'd listen, if I'm honest.
Oh yes, definitely. Oh man, I just love these young listeners we have, and like young Call the Midwife viewers. Like
I love
just
every listener we have. Thank you
I
to
love everyone,
everyone
but okay. Oh, that is great. Oh, I'm so glad. That's awesome.
I know. So on that, thank you so much for listening, everyone. Next week we'll be doing series 6, episode 2. So if you want to watch along and listen along, that'd be amazing. Look, really, obviously you could rely on us telling you what's happened, but we get stuff wrong.
Don't rely on us. Don't do that to yourself. Just watch the episode, enjoy it like we all do.
Follow us on Facebook, Threads, Twitter, Instagram. Like and subscribe. Always subscribe so you actually get a new episode. And also leave us a review. That'd be amazing.
Oh, we'd love a review. Yes.
See you next time.
See you next time. Bye.